tax rate, and then the total tax rate that you, if you live in our school district, pay. We like this chart because it shows us being very competitive, very fiscally sound, and very inexpensive as a tax rate for our taxpayers. Our combined tax rate is $1.80. $1.80 per $100 of assessed valuation. And so if you figure that out, say that you have a $500,000 house, full market value. You take 10% of that, it goes down to $50,000 because it's assessed at 10%. Divide that by 100, and then you get the number 500. Multiply that times $1.80, okay, that's $900. So that's your total taxes that you pay for the schools if you own a $500,000 home in this district. We compare to some of our local school districts because we want to know what they have to pay in tax rates so we can help our taxpayers to understand that it's a pretty good bargain up here. Fountain Hills. You live in the Fountain Hills School District, their tax rate is, ours was $1.80, remember. Their tax rate is $3.16. Scottsdale, $3.89. Paradise Valley, our neighbors to the south, $4.72. Deer Valley, $4.91. And Peoria, $5.66. So if you owned a $500,000 house in any of those other areas, you would be paying double or triple the amount of taxes to support the local schools. Keeping in mind that we in Cave Creek are one of 3 school districts in the entire state who have the highest performing level of students in schools and have the excelling rate. We have 8 of 8 schools that are excelling. So you're getting a bargain, we think. Low tax rate, highly performing schools, highly performing students. That's it, and I'm sure Dr. Burdick would like to answer any question that you have. Any questions? Kathy.
Kathy, I wanted to ask a question.
And I congratulate the schools on being highly performing and the job that you do to steward our money. But you mean to tell me that we will get no new technology, I know how old the computers are, if we don't pass a separate bond? This does not come out of the M&O?
Again, technology would come from what's called a capital override. I understand what you're saying. And we will have no funds to purchase any technology without that kind of a passage. That's correct.
Okay, and that would not be fiscally responsible of the students, in my opinion. We need to pass an override. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe has a question here.
Yes. Ken, I have 2 questions. Number 1, are ESL, or English Second Language, students weighted?
There is a small amount of weighting, very small amount of weighting with the EL students.
And then secondly, can you explain adjacent ways funding?
Certainly, only you would have caught that, Joe. Adjacent ways was in that lowest part of the pyramid. And again, the reason it's there is because it's one of the 4 funds that can come out of primary. It's very, very restricted. Adjacent ways funding is funding that's available to us to, and Joe could much better explain this than I can, to us for very specific purposes to improve entry and exit to our school property. For instance, driveways, fire lanes, and those kinds of things. Can't be used to build buildings or anything like that, but it can be used to help us improve the access to our buildings. Good enough, Joe? Thank you, sir.
Yes. Can you tell us approximately how much money the federal government comes into this formula? start their funds?
into anything that I just showed you there, other than the pyramid, zero. The federal government comes in, I got, if you want to see it, I can either talk to you afterwards. I've got a slide. It's a very small amount of money that we get from the federal government. The primary reason we get so little in federal funds in this district, it's the irony of it, I guess, is that we are much more affluent than all of our other public schools, districts around. Schools are rated on their affluence or lack of affluence based on what's called a free and reduced lunch count. And you are rated based on a percentage of your students who participate in the free and reduced lunch program. Out of 100%, 6% of our students are free and reduced lunch. We are either the lowest or near the lowest in the entire state in free and reduced lunch. So the amount of federal funds is directly, inversely proportional to the amount of free and reduced lunch funds that you have. I know Dr. Burdick's worked in a district in Central City that was over 90%.
It's 100.
100% free and reduced lunch. So you can imagine the amount of federal funds that they have access to. But ours is in the range of a couple $1 million. That's it.
I have a question over here.
Yes, sir.
Currently, what is the salary range for teachers in the school district? Bottom to top.
Current salary range, entry-level teacher in our school district this year is $38,000, and the top of the salary range is just a touch over $60,000. Very top for somebody who's been here for 20, 30 years.
How long would it take beginning teachers to get to the top?
15 years.
Are there steps? In other words,
There currently are steps. I believe the top range, it's a little difficult because it isn't the same in all school districts. It seems to me the top range is in the, no, it's more than that, Dr. Burdick. It's probably about 25 years, I would say.
25 years
Yes, sir.
to get from the 38
Yeah.
to the 60.
Yes, sir.
And that is incrementally because of experience
Yes.
and increased education?
Yes, it's a combination of increased education and staying power with the school. It is a stepped schedule.
I see. I noticed that you had indicated that the personnel costs of the district are about 83%, including print. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And just for my fellow Hawaiians here, I spent 40 years in mission education. And back there, we always try to limit the proportion of salaries and human resources to 75%. And the Michigan salary range is higher proportionally to back then if you extrapolate. Tells me that you guys don't have enough money. You should have more money, this is no surprise to you, overall, so that you don't have to spend more than 75% of your budget on personnel costs. And, we always hear about Arizona being dead last in terms of the way it funds education, and that's just one example of what's wrong. You should be back down at 75%. You should have enough extra money for supplies and all the other things you need to support students with. So I commend you for having students perform so well with so little money that you actually have to use there. So that's a fact, and you're to be commended for the way you're spending the money.
Thank you very much.
I would just add one thing to that. I'm going to risk the small commercial in that we currently have a bunch of people looking at what can they do to help our schools. Do we need another election? We're not sure where we're going to go with that. We have a committee of community members who are helping us decide what we should do. They're very angry because they said we don't fix our schools.